Stablecoin rules are getting set with our neighbors to the north. Coinbase adds a new bank partner for digital asset payments. And are the crypto charts rebounding ahead of Halloween? Hey everyone, it's Jenny Horne here, and this is Crypto Corner on Schwab Network. Joining me now is Nate Peterson, Director of Derivatives Analysis at the Schwab Center for Financial Research. So the U.S. government shutdown has paused progress made by the SEC and CFTC in loosening these crypto regulations, but up north in Canada, it sounds like there's still progress being made. So tell us more about what we're seeing, internationally speaking.
Yeah, no doubt, Jenny. So next Tuesday, Canada has their federal budget that they'll be outlining. According to Bloomberg, we could get some details around some stablecoin, regulation, legislation, looking for clarity around that digital asset space in regard to stablecoins. The counterpart of that is basically the Genius Act here that the U.S. passed back in July, and if you think about what Canada is really trying to do here is push forward with this legislation so that they don't have, capital flight down to the United States. Right now, stablecoin inflows are growing. Jenny, we talked about this a couple of weeks ago, basically 45 billion in Q3 versus 10 billion in the prior quarter. And this pie is expected to grow in the coming years. So Canada is in this mode of, hey, we need to address this. Yes, we have tariff issues, we have trade issues, we have some austerity that needs to be discussed, but let's not go to sleep on, getting this legislation out the door because we don't want to be left behind. And I think all the other countries know this as well. It's not really that you're left behind, but if you do not have this legislation in place, then you can't have innovation in this space, and therefore those Canadian dollars that are looking for access to blockchain technology via stablecoins could see that money flow elsewhere. So the sooner the better is basically Canada's perspective. We'll know more next Tuesday.
Okay, and meanwhile, Coinbase and Citi are teaming up for better digital asset payments. So walk us through the latest on that catalyst.
Yeah, Citigroup, Coinbase. This might sound a little bit familiar because JP Morgan has really been kind of the big mover, although Jamie Dimon has not always been an advocate of crypto, as we know throughout the space. He concedes that we have to make this available to our institutional clients. Citigroup teaming up with Coinbase and basically looking to provide that access to have initially the capability to transfer between fiat and crypto, basically TradFi and DeFi, traditional finance and decentralized finance, bridging these two, giving their institutional clients this capability. Why? Well, again, Citi doesn't want to see capital flight away from Citi over to JP Morgan or other institutions that might be offering this capability. So you can see the theme here, Jenny, in the sense that you evolve or die. If Web 3.0 and if blockchain technology is going to offer efficiencies, that's lower costs, that's 24/7 transactions, et cetera, the liquidity question we're still going to have to see in terms of adoption throughout the years. But it looks like that's on track. But if you do not want to lose assets to other institutions that are offering this, Citi is saying, okay, we need to basically concede and team up with Coinbase. They'll probably start small, track adoption, move from there. But obviously, the advancement is towards wider 3.0 capability.
Absolutely. And it's still been a very exciting, several weeks as far as just news catalysts. And we also know there's a big week for investors as far as, the Fed decision, big tech earnings, Halloween, of course, but we're seeing a bit of stabilization, technically speaking, on the charts. So what really sticks out to you?
Yeah, Jenny, a busy week. So, stocks by the way, all-time highs. We got the FOMC meeting. This is Wednesday that we're recording it today. We've got mega cap tech earnings that are coming out, starting out tonight. We've got the U.S. trade deal with China or framework potential. We'll get more details on that on Thursday. And then, let's take a look at the charts. It's always good just to kind of check in. We know that seasonally this is supposed to be a good period for crypto. It hasn't quite turned out to be the case here, but taking a look at Bitcoin here first, if you can, you may not even be able to see the wick that goes down to the 200-day simple moving average on October 17th. That is where definitely we found some support. These are the futures contracts we're looking at on BTC, but it basically went down to that gold line, which represents the 200-day simple moving average. That bid support kicked in. So we have stabilized. But if you look over the past couple of months here, sideways consolidation. Yes, we got a new high back in September, around 126K. But right now, when you're in sideways consolidation, there's not a lot of impetus for traders to go out there and technically make some moves until we get some resolution either to the upside or the downside. So if you're bullish, you'd like to see resolution eventually to the upside, and you'd like to see more of an uptrend even on a near-term basis. That means higher highs and higher lows. Let's take a look at Ethereum, because the snapshot looks, the technical snapshot looks a little bit similar here in the sense that we are basically in this sideways consolidation mode. We did get a bounce there off of the 100 SMA, but that $4,000 level, which was a double top last December, and we found support there over the past 3 months, I'm going to kind of say or toss that 4,000 support level as not, I don't want to toss it out the window, but I'll say it's not as significant. Why do I say that? When you have the price that's basically flirting up above and below and above and below over the past couple of weeks above this 4,000 level, it's telling you that it's not technically that significant. If it is significant, you would see a sharp bounce or you'd see a sharp sell-off. A sharp bounce meaning it's support, or a sharp sell-off meaning it's resistance. So right now, that 100 SMA, you can keep an eye on that in terms of support. And then again, sideways consolidation over the last couple of months. What you'd like to see is at least push up towards the high end of the range. 4,900 is basically the all-time high if you're bullish. And you'd like to see, obviously, the resolution to the upside. And lastly, we'll take a look at Solana. It's essentially in the same boat. 200 looked like it was an area of support, but we've kind of been flirting around on the either side of 200 as well. And if you look over the past 6 weeks, we've got lower highs and lower lows. You can see from that peak around 250, that price box at the top there is that all-time high. We come down, bounce off support, make a lower high. We then breach that support, make a lower low. And then now we're still a little bit in no man's land. And so the bottom line is, Jenny, is when I think of crypto being a risk-on asset, and we've got NVIDIA hitting all-time highs today. We've got the AI trade, that's booming. We've got stocks at all-time highs, and yet crypto isn't really participating. Perhaps some of it has to do with that October 10th liquidation event. We're still need time for those wounds to heal from that event. But for now, you can say we are finding stability. We'll keep an eye on the charts as we move through Q4 because historically this has been a good time for crypto. We'll just have to wait and see.
I mean, yes, we will have to wait and see. This October has been a bit disappointing, but hey, we still have a few days left, of course, in this month. So we appreciate it, Nate Peterson. That does wrap up this week's edition of Crypto Corner. To watch all of our previous episodes, make sure to subscribe to Schwab Network's YouTube channel. I'm Jenny Horne. Thanks for tuning in.